The mission of the Boys and Girls Club of Plymouth is to enable young people to become productive, caring citizens, especially those who need them the most. Julie invited Executive Director Garreth Lynch and President Matthew Glynn on to talk about the club, what it does, and where it's going. Julie?
Garreth Lynch and Matt Glynn, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here today. Garreth, let me start with you. You have been the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of Plymouth for a very long time. Can you tell us about your history, how you started there, and why you're still there after all this time?
Well, the true start is I'm a club kid myself. I was a member of the Boys Club at Lincoln Square in Worcester, Mass. And most of us, in one way or another, over our lifetimes, do what we can to pay back the experiences that we had. And one of my favorite stories is when I was receiving my diploma from my doctorate at SUNY Albany, the president of the university said, "What's your greatest regret today?" And I thought a minute and said, Pericles Labovites, who started all of this by telling me that I was good at school and I should stay in school, he's responsible for this, and my greatest regret is he didn't live to see this day. Now, I tell that story because the history of any Boys and Girls Club member that you come across remembers the staff and what the staff did for them on a personal basis, the encouragement, the recognition and reward for doing things well, for understanding a level of competence, that everybody's good at something. It's just an issue of finding it. So I had served as the interim at the Westfield Club. I was one of the founders of that club in 1969. And I got a call from the national organization that Plymouth was searching for an executive director. So even at my advanced age, I thought it was a reasonable challenge. So I came to Plymouth in 2006 to work on turning things around for 18 months or so. And I'm still here.
14 years later. 15 years now, you're still here.
14 years later.
Yeah. Good for you. So, as you said, your grandest memory is those of the staff, the people that worked at the Boys and Girls Club who supported you and mentored you and watched over you. Do you hear from people that have been through the Plymouth Boys and Girls Clubs often, and what do they say?
Oftentimes they come back to visit. Generally, the most common re-attendees, people who have aged out and gone on, are former youths of the year. And in fact, we employ two of them on staff. Sorry.
That's okay.
Ted Donnelly and Jillian Steves. And Jillian's one of Matt's favorite stories. She came in for our GED program. She had been the caregiver for her parents, and finally got the phone out, for her parents, and had dropped out of school. So she went through our GED program, and at Youth of the Year, because she was the most stellar student for sure, and worked as a volunteer in the club, we got her a cap and gown and made up a Boys and Girls Club version of the diploma and presented it at the Youth of the Year. I think of all the things that we've done, that probably got to Matt Glynn's heart more than anything else that's happened in the interim. But they come to visit and talk about being able to use the experiences that they had in the club in college and in employment, and overall, the positive things in their lives. And just as in my own case, at SUNY Albany, the staff member who started that was at the Worcester Club, and I'm not sure where I would have turned out if it weren't for Spud, Pericles Labovites. By the way, I was the only kid in the club that could spell his name.
Oh, what a wonderful story. That is absolutely terrific, and I can understand how giving Jillian that GED and making a presentation would have been so heartfelt for all of you, and especially for her. Matt, if I can turn to you, you're the president of the board of directors of the Boys Club. So what about the club is especially meaningful to you?
I think what I enjoy the most is, we take care of the kids that need the most help, that come from economic challenged backgrounds and don't necessarily have that strong family support that they need. Growing up, families were so important, but nowadays it's because of the hustle bustle and what's going on. Sometimes families just don't have the time to support each other and be there. And what I found that at the club that really does that is a lot of these kids consider this their family, and they get that support, they get the confidence, they get someone saying, hey, you're doing a good job, keep it up. They also get somebody who says, hey, you're stepping out of the bounds here, you need to bring it back in. I mean, Garreth is a master at, and he's also transferred these skills of his of motivating people to just go beyond what they're capable of. And I see this all the time. And to be a small part of that, I mean, as a board member, we don't get the ability to interact with these kids all the time, but we know that what we're bringing into the mix is the means for this to happen for these kids.
Yeah. Now, so basically, the kindness that you show and the discipline, and kids love consistency. And it sounds to me like they're getting that consistent support with guardrails all through their journey through the Boys and Girls Club. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
Yes. Now, Matt.
Did you want more?
You, through the Joshua Glynn
That was too long an answer, Matt.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. So, Matt, through the Joshua Glynn Foundation, you have been constructing the Joshua Glynn Music Center at the Boys and Girls Club. Can you tell us all about that?
So, Josh, at one point in his life, had to serve some community service, and he came to me and wanted to know if I had an idea where he could go. And I talked it over with Garreth, and Garreth suggested he come into the Boys and Girls Club and do a music program because, as the people who know me or Joshua can attest, he was an extremely accomplished musician, with his piano being his major instrument and guitar and voice were two other great attributes that he had. And so he stepped into the club and worked with them to start a music program. And he needed to serve like 40 hours, but he went so far beyond the 40 hours, and it was because he was enjoying it and having fun. And he used to like that he was working with kids that never would have had this opportunity to do it. And Garreth and him used to joke around. I don't know who came up with this idea, but to not play songs perfectly because kids would realize that anyone can come in and do that. So that was the start of the program. And then Josh left. He ended up going to Northern Ireland to serve an internship under a music producer. And when he left it to a young man in the club. And he took the music program to an even higher level because he had something to build upon. And then he left to go to college, and the music program fell apart. Mm-hmm. So after Josh was in the accident and passed away, Karen and I were figuring out how we could keep his legacy going. And one of the places that we thought would be perfect would be to put a music center in the Boys and Girls Club. So we raised the funds, we put in an elevator, and we've broken it up into two phases, obviously because of COVID, because of fundraising, with both the club and the foundation has kind of stalled out. so money is not quite as available. So we finished phase one, which is the practice rooms and a gathering area and a band room and a classroom. And we're going to hire somebody. We have somebody that we're interviewing now, and once that goes in, we'll start the program.
So you're going to start it again, the whole music program.
Bringing
Good, with phase two.
Yeah, we will go to phase two, and that'll be the recording studio. And then I've talked to these people at PAC TV, and they're going to help us put in a TV studio as well.
That's
and
great.
serve an internship with some of the kids so that they can really learn what it's like to be in the communication business.
That's
We're
right.
excited about that.
Yeah, that's right. And like you said, and what's so important is you don't have to play perfectly. I mean, music is such a universal language, and it's a wonderful common denominator that children have all over the world. Now, back to you, Gareth, for 1 second. What have you had to limit or curtail as far as your programs go because of COVID-19, and how have you changed?
Well, Boys and Girls Clubs across the country are essentially after-school programs and summer camps. And the after-school program generally runs from 2:30 to 7 with homework help and tutoring, physical activity, and nutrition programs and the like. As soon as COVID hit, that program was canceled because with the youngsters not in school and the school transportation and the rest of it, it was an issue. So we set up with the school department at the governor's request. You may recall he asked the people who were in the childcare business follow the COVID guidelines as much as possible and reopen. And there were only 2 of us in Plymouth who were able to do that because the regulations were really restrictive and difficult. What we've done, in fact, is we've not lost programs at all. We changed to a schedule of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., 5 days a week. And the notion with the school department was the teachers have to be at school every day. So what would happen to the teachers' youngsters on remote days? And the answer was us. As it turned out, we had over 100 applicants, but our license only provides for 78. So we're able to rotate youngsters who come into and out of the program. And we offer just about everything from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock that we generally offered in the Compass Home program. And the staff is sitting with them at their Chromebooks all through the school day, back and forth with their teachers. And you had mentioned structure earlier. It's my experience that youngsters crave a structured place to go where they feel safe and secure. We've had reports back from parents and teachers that we've positively changed the behavior of some of the youngsters who are having school problems, were not motivated. And probably the best one was the mother who contacted us to say she didn't understand what child depression was until the youngsters started coming to the club and got happy again. And then she recognized the difference. So we're pretty proud of what we've been able to accomplish for those youngsters in COVID.
Yeah, we've heard from so many teachers, psychologists, a number of groups over the past year, how much this is affecting children. And your program is just embracing them at the time when they need it the most. It's too bad you can't take 7,800 kids instead of 78, but it's wonderful what you're doing. And final thoughts, Matt Glynn, on the Boys and Girls Club, and where do you see the future of it going?
I think COVID has really taught us a valuable lesson. We need to increase our financial stability. One of the issues that people have talked about with COVID is the lack of socialization that happens. And we're even seeing that on our board right now. I mean, we have a board that has been together for a while, and we used to get together and we used to enjoy each other's company and have meetings, do something meaningful, usually go out for a cocktail afterwards just to continue that camaraderie. And what I'm seeing now is even that's getting harder. So it kind of magnifies what I think kids are seeing, because it's one thing for grumpy old men to get aggravated when they can't see people, but for kids, they need to see people. And we just have to make sure that we create a stronger legacy with this club, that long after Gareth and I are not at the helms, that it just has the same vitality and the same financial strength that it needs to keep going.
And something tells me it absolutely will. Gareth and Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and good luck with the Boys and Girls Club. I know you're having a fundraiser coming up, so we'll be rooting for you all the way, and we thank you very much for joining us today. Back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Julie.